Discover the best in local business news with a subscription to the IBJ and Inside Indiana Business. For a limited time, try us out for just $1 a week for 8 weeks. Claim this limited time offer now at ibj.com/trial offer.
This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for the afternoon of Thursday, November 6, 2025. I'm Alex Brown. Terre, Haute-based First Financial Corporation announced today that it has signed an agreement to acquire CedarStone Financial based in Lebanon, Tennessee. The deal is valued at $25 million, and when complete, CedarStone Bank will merge into First Financial Bank, bringing First Financial's total number of branches to 82 across 5 states. CedarStone operates 3 branches in the Tennessee communities of Lebanon, Mount Juliet, and Nashville. CedarStone currently has about $358 million in assets. First Financial said it will have combined consolidated assets of about $6.1 billion if the merger is completed. The acquisition is expected to close in the first quarter of 2026, pending regulatory and CedarStone shareholder approvals. Winchester officials and representatives of Indiana American Water held a ribbon cutting Wednesday for a new $27 million water treatment facility that is expected to improve water quality and reliability and lower energy use. The new facility, which began operations in April, replaces an aging water treatment plant that was too costly to continue to upgrade. The system serves more than 4,700 residents and businesses in the Randolph County community in northeast Indiana. The plant also expands the city's water storage by an additional 450,000 gallons. United States Secretary of War Pete Hegseth will travel to Fort Wayne next week for the annual Northeast Indiana Defense Summit. U.S. Senator Jim Banks of Indiana made the announcement Wednesday that Hegseth will headline the event on November 12th, though few other details were made available. From the number one source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
Thanks for listening to this IBJ Media podcast. You're probably going to remember this ad. Do you know why? Podcast advertising works. 85% of listeners recalled hearing an ad during a podcast, and 70% of podcast listeners have acted after hearing an ad. So whether you're looking to be heard across the entire IBJ Media Podcast Network, sponsor one of our shows, or just start with a 30-second ad, IBJ Media can help. Contact advertise at ibj.com to learn more.
Indiana Attorney General Todd Rokita has filed a lawsuit against Indianapolis Public Schools. Mark Mazurek has the story.
Rokita is asking the Marion Superior Court to stop the school district from maintaining policies that allegedly, quote, frustrate federal immigration authorities' ability to enforce federal laws. The complaint says IPS maintains policies that violates Indiana's anti-sanctuary statute that prohibits government bodies and higher education institutions from restricting the enforcement of federal immigration laws, quote, to less than the full extent permitted by federal law, end quote. The lawsuit alleges that in January, ICE contacted the Attorney General's office to express concerns about the difficulty they were getting in interactions with IPS, specifically in connection to the deportation of an unauthorized male Honduran immigrant who was residing in Indiana at the time. The lawsuit claims the man had entered into a voluntary deportation agreement with ICE and he was scheduled to be deported to Honduras. But one of the man's children was a student at IPS who had gone to the school that morning of the scheduled deportation. Ultimately, ICE and IPS were unable to reach an agreement for the father to take custody of his son in time to make the deportation flight. The father missed his flight and the voluntary deportation order expired. Rokita also alleges the district has not responded to his request to address its policies related to assisting immigration officials. I'm Mark Mazurek for Inside Indiana Business Radio.
Indianapolis International Airport, along with airports in New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago, are among the 40 U.S. air hubs that will see flights cut starting Friday due to the government shutdown. The Federal Aviation Administration is imposing the flight reductions to relieve pressure on air traffic controllers who are working without pay during the shutdown and have been increasingly calling off work. Controllers already have missed one full paycheck and are scheduled to again receive nothing next week as the shutdown drags on. Airlines have said they would try to minimize the impact on customers, some of whom will see weekend travel plans disrupted with little notice. Hancock Health and Fisher startup Arrive AI are teaming up with Autonomy, a California-based robotic delivery company, to help healthcare workers be more efficient. The organizations say their system is the world's first unattended pickup and drop-off by robots in healthcare. Normally, a human has to do the loading and unloading. Hancock Health CEO Steve Long.
This opens all kinds of doors. You can imagine that we're starting just with one route, but we've already been talking today about the other dozens of routes that we could have, and let alone when we think about taking this outside the walls of the hospital, because we have campuses all over this county.
Hospital staff can place a lab specimen in one of Arrive AI's Arrive points, and then an Autobot will retrieve and deliver it. The specimens are stored at the proper temperature until a staff member picks it up. Indiana Landmark's CEO Brad Ward is this week's guest on the Business and Beyond podcast with Gary Dick, presented by PNC, a weekly conversation with high-profile Hoosiers in business, sports, and entertainment, and beyond. Available now on the IBJ Media app or your favorite podcast provider. I'm Alex Brown for Inside Indiana Business Radio on Demand.
Get a behind-the-scenes look at Indiana's most influential leaders. On Business and Beyond, we go beyond titles and resumes to explore the personal stories, pivotal moments, and hard-won lessons that shape Hoosier leadership. Hear from the people driving Indiana forward in their own words. Subscribe and listen wherever you get your podcast or at ibjpodcasts.com.
On the go? So are we. Get the IBJ Media app, your all-in-one news source for Indiana business news. Get breaking news alerts, read every story from IBJ, Inside Indiana Business, and the Indiana Lawyer, and listen to your favorite podcasts all in one place. Big news, small screen. Search IBJ Media and download the app today.